Yeah. Okay, thank you. Selaine Saxby.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning. I was going to ask about in-work progression. So the department received some extra money in the budget and spending review to support in-work progression, and I wondered if you could give us some detail about how that money is going to be spent.
Yes, the intention is that it buys basically more work coach time to speak to people who are on low incomes, seeing what it is that we can, who may already be working. So there's an element of that. We're still going through, again, joint government, collective government response to Ruby McGregor's review. I know that the Minister for Employment had hoped to get that out before the end of this year. I think it's just realistic to say it won't be, but I'll be doing my best to get it out in the next quarter. So I think I'm excited about this. You know, it's an opportunity. There was a good announcement in the done by Gillian Keegan in her white paper just very recently. One of the particular elements which Ruby and her panel had looked at was about social care, and there's certainly a way forward in the white paper that came out from the Department of Health and Social Care, which I think is positive for people going into care careers, and how we help make that easier for people to progress in that particular sector. So, but from our perspective, it's principally about extra work coach time.
Yes, £99 million over 3 years, and we talked about this a little bit a couple of weeks ago, I think. But as the Secretary of State says, work coach time, and really there's sort of two dimensions to that. One is understanding opportunities in the workplace for people on low pay in their local area to progress, and the second is access to training and skills and equipping to enable people to take those opportunities. And we did some work on this in pilots a few years ago, just to sort of see how you would develop a case, and this will help us to build on the learning that we've done before, and particularly those two areas. How do we understand local labour markets, and how do we coach and support people to take opportunities in the labour markets with support around skills and training.
And building on that, you've spoken there about skills and about pay, but I also see, particularly in my own constituency work, we also have an issue around low aspiration.
Yeah.
And will there be any work within this to tackle that sort of longer term, sort of possible intergenerational need to encourage people to want to move forward, not just introducing those opportunities, because we can put all the money into skills, but if people don't want to take up the training, is there any work going into that space around aspiration?
I mean, that really is at the heart of what our work coaches do with the people that they meet anyway. Often that's, as I say, at the moment it's helping people out of work to find work, but the same model can apply going forward in terms of people who are on low-paid jobs, but helping them with the practical things like childcare and transport and things, but also helping them in terms of aspiration and thinking about the potential and really sort of thinking about what might be possible for them. I mean, 99 million over 3 years, it's a relatively small sum of money in the overall scheme of things. So the point I would make, the point I made a couple of weeks ago, is that we will be looking to sort of try things, test things, and see whether we can then make a case that things that we've tried are working, and it's worth then further investment behind them. So I'm hoping that this will support a number of different trials and projects, and some around aspiration, some around skilling, some around understanding the labour market. But we need to bring that together into a package for any individual to help them see the opportunities that might be there for them.
I think there's also an important role for the National Career Service.
Yes.
And it's not the case in every job centre, but in lots of job centres, they are embedded in our job centres to have that element of what choices lie ahead for people. I think the other element is also recognising and say it's not just a DWP issue, it's actually not just a DFE issue, or indeed a Scottish Government issue or Welsh Government issue. We try and work collaboratively with other departments as well to really get to grips and showcase what the opportunities are for people to do.
Yeah, it's such a good point, actually. We talked a little bit about this on Monday in the context of Kickstart, but seeing how what we do fits into the overall journey that any individual would have, making sure that we link up with the apprenticeship system or the skills system, great example would be sector-based work academies, where there's an opportunity for someone to have training and then work experience and then a guaranteed job interview. So we're working closely with the FE colleges in the local area to sort of make that happen. And in the context of Wales and Scotland, somebody like Kickstart is placed into the Young Person's Guarantee, I think it's called in Scotland, or the Young Person's Customer Journey in the context of Wales. So we link up, really importantly, what we do in job centres with what's available in the local kind of skills and training context.
Thank you. And you mentioned sort of early on in that answer about transport and childcare, and that was obviously highlighted by the In-Work Progression Commission.
Yes.
And I just wondered, are there any specifics that are being done to address those issues?
Well, I think there's been aspects, hasn't there, been is it the Better Bus strategy? We also have, in terms of trying to help with the costs of travel, there's a special rail card, isn't there, for people looking for work. Of course, aspects of childcare can be supported through UC, as well as I know work coaches have a limited amount of discretion on use of flexible support fund. I think it's fair to say, there's about £6 billion, I think it is, roughly, spent on childcare as a whole in the country. Most of that is through the provision of what's deemed to be the 30-hour week, or that has the majority of spending. So that does focus on slightly older children, so we are looking at some policies about how we might help improve the situation for even younger children as well.
Thank you. And I think, I have a particular interest coming from such a rural constituency where we don't really have much public transport. So if ever you do need a constituency to come and get some examples, then I'd be very happy to volunteer my own. And with regards to
any childhood holidays in Combe Martin I've had.
Excellent, you're always very welcome back. The evidence that you're collating, you've spoken about that you're monitoring the trials and the interventions that are being made. Is that a formalised process in terms of actually really understanding how these interventions are working, so that if we come back to you this time next year, we'd be able to actually look at whether there's been a tangible change?
I imagine you'll want to hold us to account for that, but the announcement for the 99 million was in the spending review, so we're in the process of sort of allocation and working out how we'll do that, but that will then have to be evaluated as we do that, and in a sort of test and learn process, because the key thing for us is trying to see what we can do to boost productivity, boost support for people in low pay, and see whether we can then make a case to expand provision in this area, which we'll need a decent business case for with the Treasury, so we need to go through that evaluation.
Lovely, thank you.